I'm Blake Bomberger. I'm one of the owners of Unrivaled Iron Gym.
And I'm Marc George, the other co-owner of Unrivaled Iron Gym.
And also owner of...
And the newly opened Unrivaled Supplement Center, which is connected to the gym.
Yep.
Among many other things that we both do. So.
Yes. So, I guess we'll just talk about kind of what led us up to acquiring the gym and starting the business and all that stuff. If you want to go first and start with the, Maryland days and go from there.
So, taking it back, and just to give both of our backstories, because that also is important to our stories too. I'm originally from New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey, outside of Philadelphia. I went to school, University of Maryland, in College Park. And, I was there trying to get into the business school. It's actually funny, I applied to the business school and I didn't get in because my GPA probably wasn't high enough or whatever.
Too busy partying, dude.
Yeah. So all my friends were in the business school and I wasn't, but I knew business was a track that I wanted to go down. And so I got into healthcare and public health and all that stuff and graduated, and I got a job with an accounting firm, PricewaterhouseCoopers or PwC, out of school, working in Tyson's Corner in McLean, Virginia, and doing the whole consulting life of traveling Monday through Thursday, going on client site, living out of hotels, being on planes, all that stuff. And it was cool in the beginning, definitely, but I realized early on, and there's so many similarities when Blake tells his story, we both were at this point where I knew probably at 2 years into my 7 years there that I just had this moment where I'm like, this isn't it. Man.
Well, tell them what you were doing, like when you traveled and...
Oh, so actually...
Like, what'd you eat? Like, how was your diet?
In phases, it was good. In phases, it was bad. So, and actually, that was probably the pivotal moment for me for bodybuilding-wise. When you're traveling for work and things like that, like the culture, especially in like this high-performing accounting firm and the culture of traveling and clients and whining and dining, they just give you a corporate American Express card and say, hey, go to dinner. So I'm in Philadelphia going out to $500, $600, $700 dinners, drinking wine and eating everything under the sun and just like drinking on Tuesday nights with clients, and it was bad. And I remember there was a picture on my phone that I've saved on my phone, and I woke up one morning hungover, and I'm like, I'm gonna be late for my client meeting, and I looked in the mirror, and I was just this just disgusting fat. I'm like, I looked at myself, and I took a picture. I went like this in the mirror, and I took a picture. I said, I'm gonna remember this picture. I will never look like that ever again. It was just like it was weird because like career-wise, the highest point in my life, but personally, just the lowest. I was like, and I remember. I had one of my friends, Mackenzie, at home at our lake house in New Jersey, and he saw me for the first time in a while, and he was like, bro, what happened to you? And I'm like, oh, man. But that's why real friends are good for that.
Yeah, call you out.
So, that's just my previous backstory in the corporate life. I always say, like, when I had, like, a real job of what I was doing. But I had a friend, Tyler, one of my best friends, actually, that started Total Healthy Nutrition, which is the nutrition store that I own now in Columbia. And he was growing that business, and I'd always see him and say, I was really proud of what he was doing, and just like, hey man, if you ever need a business partner, like, just give me a call. But I didn't think he ever would. And meanwhile, I'm trying to like find a way out of my corporate job. And one day we just had a phone call, and he's like, hey, I want you to be a part of this business. So, I don't want to go into all that in full detail, but long story short, I ended up purchasing and acquiring 1/3 of the business, which was one of the stores at the time. And I took that store over, and then I grew that store. It wasn't doing so great, so I took it and I really grew it. And then I relocated it as well, and then it really took off. So, and that store is very important to our story because that's actually where Blake and I met. So, Blake, again, we'll get into his backstory as well. But owning and running that store is there every day, like the normal entrepreneurial. And it's funny, too, because at the time I thought I was an entrepreneur, and like now what I'm doing, I realized that wasn't entrepreneurship. I was just running a business. And they are very different things, which is a whole other topic that we could definitely get into because I thought I was Mr. Entrepreneur doing it big. And I'm like, now I look back and I'm like, I wasn't doing anything right, and I was actually wasn't even a business owner.
You did pretty well though.
I did, but like I was actually an employee of my business. I worked open to close every day, 7 days a week, and I was so dedicated to making that. I knew that.
And I would do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing changes, so that's weird. But I knew that it could be something, and I believed in it, just like we do with Unrivaled. So. Blake was one of the customers. He was training at the gym around the corner, Coliseum, and we got to talking one day and just nerding out about supplements and we both had semi-recently competed in OCB shows and just talking about that. And I don't know which one of us said like, hey bro, you want to like train sometime together? And both of us had this feeling of like, I don't really train with people. I don't.
If you want my honest opinion, I was like, yeah. Like I was like, this guy's cool. I enjoy his presence, but I was like, I don't like training with people.
Yeah, I didn't.
And most people knew that. Yeah. I was like the grumpy guy in the gym, didn't like training people, but like I just didn't. Well, that's a whole nother story in itself. It's like a therapy session. But then I was like, all right, screw it, and we trained together. And I was like, we didn't talk like the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this is great.
And for me too, like this was a moment for me where like I thought again, I was like, I had just competed in my show, I won the show, like I thought I was being Mr. Olympia next, like I was the real deal. And I met Blake and I trained with him. I'm like, holy shit, dude! This man, I've never met someone stronger in my entire life, and I'm like, I got a lot of work to do, man. This is crazy. So it was good, like that, like.
Just so you know, though, because I love you, I was like, well, I'm gonna try to put this guy.
Yeah, of course, as you do to everybody.
So I try to do that to everybody. Anyone that listens to me, I'm like, I'm gonna try
guy.
to bury this motherfucker.
That's how it should be.
And I'm gonna make them really upset at the weight they're lifting too. So I'm just gonna lower their weight, and I'm gonna like kind of coach them through it each rep, and just kind of make them feel like shit for it.
That's what you did. So here we are.
Ego in the trash can.
Yeah. But it worked out because we're like,
you passed the test, dude.
I did. I passed
great.
with flying colors.
It was a great lift.
And we just that turned into like training like a few days a week and whatever, and then eventually we were just training partners. We were training basically every day, most days a week, going to Coliseum, going to Lifetime in Columbia, and so it just grew from there. And it was, I'll kind of pause there and let Blake kind of tell his backstory up until meeting together. But the one thing I'll say, which I'm just kind of foreshadowing, I guess, where we're going with all this is just being training partners with Blake, even though the business idea and the notion of Unrivaled was not even in the realm of possibility at that point for us, and we had no idea what it was. That was 5 years before. I knew without realizing it that I could trust Blake as one of my, at the time, just like one of my really good friends. Now he's a brother to me, but at the time, a really good friend, because there were points in training, and if you ever like really actually train with somebody where, you go to a point of this immense dark spot and you're failing at a lift. But he never actually let me fail. And that I was, again, you don't realize it at the time, but that's where we started to build this trust relationship. Like I knew I could let myself just go, and I could go balls to the wall on whatever set or whatever craziness we're doing. I'm like, yeah, but he's got my back. And if you've ever been spotted in the gym by people, that's not always the feeling you have. Sometimes you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to get the weight off me if this comes down. But that was a cool experience. I never really had that before too. So that was kind of the beginning of the trust factor, which again, we're going to talk a lot about this more, but that is the key piece to our business relationship, our brotherhood, our best friendship, that above all else, I trust and respect Blake more than anything. And it's essential to the success of Unrivaled, honestly.
Yeah. And to branch off that just before I go into like my background, it's more so like, there's so many people that told us right at the beginning, they're like, don't go into business with your best friend. Yep. And I'm like, yeah, but they like, there's a difference between having a best friend and having a brother. Yeah. Like Mark, it doesn't matter what the situation would be. If he called me for anything, I'd take a bullet for him 100% without thinking for it. But that took time to build that relationship. Course, It just didn't happen. Yeah. It was years of like just having each other's backs and sharing each other's stories. And like, Mark's got a lot of things in his past. I have a lot of things in my past, and they like kind of align in weird ways. And it's way deeper than just like a normal friendship. Yeah. And that was all built before it was like my business partner. Like exactly. I don't even like when people say you're a business partner. I'm like, who the fuck? Who's a business? Yeah. He's like, nah, dude.
Yeah. It's almost offensive to say that.
But excuse me, you have to play both. Well, we play like multiple roles. Yep. And then it's just the ability to like shut them down. Like I'm this guy right now. I'm like when we need to talk business, we talk business. Yep. And then we can go lift and joke and hang out. And if we have to have hard conversations, we do that too. Yeah. So that's where people fail.
It is.
They don't want to have hard conversations with one another.
No.
If he sucks at something, I'd be like, dude, you suck right now.
Tell me.
And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. And I'm like, cool. And then he's like, Blake, you kind of suck right now. You're not good at this. Mm-hmm. You've ADD. Diagnosed the other week.
we just like, oh my
God, I do have ADD.
How'd you know?
Anyway, all right. So, I feel like I always start this story and it goes way too long. So I'll cut out all the lifting. I started lifting when I was like super young. My dad is a psycho and had me lifting from like literally at 9. I had a dumbbell in my hand. And trained the whole way up through. So went to college, Shippensburg University, went to play football there. I trained my whole life for football, literally. It's like all I did was train. Then I realized, looking back at it now, I was training more like to be great in the gym than I was on the field. My coach used to say, my high school football coach, he was like, dude, it'd be better for you to play other sports or whatever. But anyway, so I fell in love with the gym really, really early on. And that's a whole other story, so I won't go down that path. But from Shippensburg, I graduated, put in for a lot of police department, criminal justice major, which meant nothing. And I applied to a bunch of police departments in the Maryland and Virginia area because in PA, it was either state police or you do your Act 120, which is like you pay for your academy. And I'm like, I paid for all my college. So like, I didn't come from like mommy and daddy didn't pay for anything. So that didn't happen with me. So I had to pay for everything. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay for more. So I'd rather go to an academy that's going to pay me. So I didn't really care about staying home because, I mean, no offense to my family, but I don't really care about staying home. It didn't really mean anything to me. So I was like, well, see you later, guys. So when I left, I just applied everywhere, and I ended up getting 3 months out of college. I landed Howard County, got in with them, and then it was like right off to the police academy 3 months after graduating college. So then it was 8 years with Howard County. There's a lot of aspects. I love the job. If anyone knows me, I'm an adrenaline junkie, 100%. I like going fast. I like to fight. I like all that stuff. High stress situations I kind of thrive in. I like that. And I miss that stuff, honestly. But, the whole policing, I kind of got out at the right time for sure. Policing it's a rough job. So rough in the sense of like, I won't go there. Just a rough job. So, when I was coaching, so I started coaching as well. While I was policing. So like year 6.5 going on 7, I started coaching full time under my coach at Team Loud, and I wish I could still coach there now. And Derek said, "Hey, why don't I? What's it going to take to get you out of coaching?" I was like, "Yeah, right." I laughed. I'm like, "It's not going." I told Mark the same thing. I'm like, "I don't know."
Oh, get out of policing.
I'm sorry, get out of policing. Sorry. And he said, I said I had some crazy number, 60 clients or something like that. Well, 8 months went by or something like that. And it was like 60 clients in like almost a year. And I'm like, oh shit, I actually got 60. So now I was working a full-time job, policing, coaching upwards. I think I had like 50 clients. And then I was in a prep for my show for the Big Cat too, all at once. It was ridiculous. I don't even think I could do that again. I was like falling asleep on my computer and stuff. It was ridiculous. So, but yeah, I mean, I got out of policing because I was making enough from coaching and I could just get out. And at the same exact time of all that happening, the gym came about. We don't have to go into all that, but the first person I called was Mark. I was like, well, yeah, got to call Mark. I literally called Mark that night at our landlord now, a friend of ours, when he proposed this idea to me. Is that night. I said, hey man, this is what Jerry proposed to me. And without hesitation, he's like, let's do it. We didn't talk about nothing. It was just, let's do it. And I swear to God, it was the next weekend. We were at his apartment complex planning hours and hours.
Meeting room downstairs,
we just started at their meeting room and we just started planning every little thing we possibly could. And the planning stage took months and months. Just planning.
Yeah.
And then getting the financing for the gym.
Which is a whole other process in and of itself.
But terrible process,
yeah.
SBA.
Yes.
They're pretty awesome.
But yeah, that's
small business. Never mind. I was going to say something.
So I'm going to keep talking so you know.
Filter.
I mean, just to give people a little bit of insight into that process, because again, people ask, especially like younger guys, are like, how do you do this? And there's a million ways to get capital for a business and, whatever path you go down. But in our experience, especially for a gym, because gyms are so capital intensive up front, you don't start a gym and then like trickle the money in. You must have all the money and all the capital up front because you're buying all the assets, the equipment, and the building in the beginning, and then you hope people come and sign up for it. So getting that, I mean, people always say like you have to learn how to hear no and all this stuff in business, but like boy did we learn that fast, because the first few banks that we went to, like Sandy Spring Bank, I can't stand those people, but they pretty much laughed at us. They literally laughed at us, and then the lady.
And then I got angry, so I called her back and was like, hey, "You need to explain why." Give us this money. And she was like, "What?" And like pretty much hung up on me.
They gave us basically a 2-word response of like, "Yeah, no." Like that was the answer. So it was a hard process, and also we have to.
Who's laughing now?
It was probably the worst time ever to open a gym. This was just freshly post-COVID, so we started the process the end of 2022, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So the gyms were still these high-risk things that they just opened after being closed and all this stuff. So, and then we're just two people that have little to no experience in the gym field other than, again, coaching and owning a nutrition store. But on paper, that doesn't sound appealing to them at all whatsoever.
Yeah, but we also had a lot more than other people. Like I hear a lot of young kids or other people like, yeah, bro, I'm going to open up a gym too. And I'm like, all right, go for it. Like it's way harder. So I think we had a lot more pieces to the puzzle in the sense of training knowledge, supplementation knowledge, actually getting after it as like, because like we built the gym, there's a lot of things we didn't like study.
Yes.
We just
we knew we had the pieces, but proving that to a bank, a financial institution,
correct,
that looked hard to them. So we wrote a business plan, and it was like 56-page
Mark
business
wrote this
plan.
one.
I
was like, here, let me see this. Let me proofread this. Okay, it looks good, dude. Good job.
But it also, this is another thing of it sounds a little whatever. But our relationship, the things that I am really, really good at, Blake might not be so great at, and vice versa. The things that he excels at, I'm terrible at. And we realize that even weirdly in bodybuilding, like physique-wise, my strong suits and my physique are some of his not strongest things. Yeah. And then the things that he does really well at, body part-wise and development-wise, mine are terrible and they're lacking. So we've always kind of had that weird, like, I don't want to say yin and yang. That sounds whatever too, but it's like it's just this flow of whatever. So,
but it is true because without that, I think it would go really bad.
It would for sure.
Like we don't even have like I don't even know if we should say this, but we don't even have like duties that we're each supposed. What's it called?
Yeah,
what's the business terminology for it?
We don't, I'm not going to say that part.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't have any. We don't even have an operating agreement together, but we don't, which is terrible. I would actually admit. But we're going to have one. Don't worry. Our lawyer's like, you should probably do this.
After Q2, we'll have. I don't know. Dude, I don't know any of this business stuff. People are like, oh, how's Q1 going? I'm like, shut up, dude. You're such an idiot. You don't even own a business, man.
Hates all that.
I hate that shit. How'd you operate? What's your percentage level? What's your acquisition? But Jesus Christ. I don't know, dude. We're doing well. We have money coming in. People are lifting weights at the gym. It's going well.
Meanwhile, I'm over here. I have 14 Excel spreadsheets open with formulas, and I'm like, no, Blake, what I mean. The numbers don't make sense.
Oh, yeah, it's probably good he is actually doing that stuff.
So, in my former life, that's all I did. So, again, it works out really well that, again, our skill sets complement one another and things like that. But, to get past that part of it, just to give some kind of guidance, let's say, about people looking to start a business, getting capital and working with banks and stuff like that probably took almost a year for us.
A year. Yeah.
And so knowing that when people ask us, like, how do you get into this? What do you do? How do we start this process? That is where you start. Write a business plan. Have a really good idea. Yeah. Believe in yourself. Yeah. Write a real business plan, and then go find the capital. But those 4 things could take you 18 months of time.
And in your business plan, though, it's like create the vision.
Yes.
Because we even had the vision and what we wanted before like the business plan was even created. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. We used to talk about it at the gym years before this even happened. We knew what we knew the equipment we wanted. We knew the space. We knew the vibe. We knew the people. We knew what. Yeah. So the business plan was relatively on the easier side. It was not easy, but easier to kind of.
It was just taking this and that and putting it on a piece of paper and then materializing it so a bank can read it to know what's in our brains. That's all.
And I think the biggest thing off that too is like if you don't have the money, you don't necessarily have to have the money. I mean, the money I was a cop. Yeah. I made nothing, but it's. Find private investors, like find people to actually buy in and be real about it, and people believe in you, But I mean, luckily we didn't really have to do much. The SBA loan actually worked out. But, we had help here and there, but for sure. But
yeah, but I think again, we'll kind of come back to this conversation in our next episode. But the going in from getting the funding to starting the business and the original or the steps to take to build it to open it from day one. We have a pretty unique story in that sense, and it's not the norm by any means, but it's something we like to share with people because we kind of fortified our relationship even further, and we learned so much, and we made. Not from our own free will, but we made so many mistakes because of other people's mistakes in the process that in the end it actually helped us.
Well, and it's funny because we finally got the business loan and all that stuff. We finally got what we needed or we thought we needed to just like blast off and get it all open. We were like 10% there. And at the time I literally thought, okay, all we got to do is like build this thing out and open it up. Yeah. We were literally like 10% there before it literally started all crashing down.
It's all crumbled.
And we'll explain that next video. We'll go into that. So.